Today we're going to give the drummer some. I've spent the last 5 years or so giving you the best advice that I can on how you can be a better bass player and just be the best bass player that you can be. And then I got the idea. Maybe you want a second and a third and a fourth opinion. So I thought I would ask some of my favorite drummers what they look for in a good bass player. And I got some good answers. And I'm starting off this little series with my own brother, Rob Brown.
There's like 4 or 5 bass players up here in Toronto that I can think of off the top of my head that I always look forward to playing with because I just know it's going to be a good time. So when I think about all of the common traits that all of these dudes share, it kind of helped me put my list together of the things that I would hope to see in a bassist if I was working with them for the first time. Now these are in no particular order, but the one that I want to mention first is that I really love working with bass players that know their instrument inside and out. So that means they've spent enough time with this thing where they know exactly how to use the EQ knobs, what switches to flip, where to play back here, whether it's, closer to the bridge, closer to the neck. They know which pickups to turn up, turn down. Like they know exactly what to do with this thing to get the exact sound that they need for the song. But the sound that a bass player produces has a lot to do with the feel. So, getting the right sound out of that instrument is pretty important. Another thing that I want to mention, and this is not a requirement, this is just an observation, but all of these bass players that I'm talking about that I love to play with, they're not showing up to gigs with like 19 pedals on the floor. It's like between their bass and the rig that they brought, they just know what to do.
These are very important points. Getting to know the instrument is paramount. Having good tone helps to keep that phone ringing because when people start to recognize you for your tone, you are being called for you and you're not just being called to be the bass player. So really get to know your instrument intimately. Understand how to get the right tone for the right situation because basses can be really versatile instruments and you can get a variety of tones out of one instrument. There is no bass that can play everything, which is probably why I have too many. But you can get a really great variety of colors from one bass. And I think the general rule is that if you want something that's a little more rounder and bassier, this is where you get closer to the neck, right? Once I start to use this pickup, I'll usually use this pickup for, more straight ahead things, or if I'm playing like a reggae thing, something that requires a larger, rounder tone. The pickup is going to amplify that tonal quality in the instrument because when you play here, usually the waveform, when you pluck the string, the waveform is going to be a little bit wider. That wider waveform is going to make for a bassier tone. And as you get closer to the bridge, what happens is the strings get tighter. So you get a tighter tone, you get a punchier sound. Your attack becomes more defined. Whereas here, the attack is a little bit muted and you get much more of that wider sort of low end, right? So this is very important, and this is a good general rule for any bass. You can start there and then experiment and come up with your own combinations for different sounds and different things that you want to hear out of your own instrument.
I also love a bassist that can make really good musical decisions. It's another thing that all these guys possess that I like to play with. But they just know, what to play, when to play, how to play, when to lay back, when to dig in. It's always the perfect bass fill at the right time. Sometimes it's big, sometimes it's 2 notes. You know what I mean? Like it's just a fun experience when I'm up there and we're kind of giving each other a look saying, that was cool. Now I've played with bass players that have a ton of chops and others that are just really, basic meat and potatoes. But as long as they play the right thing at the right time, the chops thing really doesn't matter. Because I've also had a couple of experiences with bass players that had a lot of chops and they were constantly just playing the wrong thing. I love playing with bass players that are always listening, like they're constantly in the moment on stage. So by that I mean, they got all the material in their head, or maybe they got it in front of them, but if things go this way or if things go this way, they're moving right with it. They've also got enough of a musical vocabulary where things can pretty much go in whatever direction it needs to, and they're just ready to go. So, having a good ear, that's a good thing.
Really good bass players know how to set up certain sections of the tune. They know when to fill. They know when to stand out a little bit more, bring out more forward motion in the groove, and lay back a little bit, and maybe let somebody else in the ensemble shine. This is a particular skill that gets your ego out of the way so that you can provide the right color for the big picture. It's very important to be able to do that. So really just listen to some of your favorite bass players and the way that they play, and also listen to the way that they play over certain sections of the tune. Do they lay back in the chorus? Do they play a little bit more in the chorus? Do they do these kinds of ideas in the verse? The way that they play can help you to understand how you play when you go and play that church gig on a Sunday afternoon, or when you go play that blues bar on a Saturday night. These little things will help you to become a much more compositional player and really serve the music to the best of your ability.
Another thing I can say that's really solid about all of these dudes is that they always show up to rehearsals prepared. I can't stress enough how valuable that is, because time is important to everybody. So you don't want to be the one holding up rehearsal because you didn't do your homework before you showed up. So, most times these guys, they'll come to the rehearsal, we'll run a song down once, maybe twice if need be, make a couple of notes, and then we roll on. Rehearsals are not for learning material. You do that on your own time. Rehearsals are for running the songs up and down and working out whatever details need to be worked out. I'm surprised at how many musicians I've come across that don't get this. If you say yes to a gig, you're committing to the gig and the prep time that comes with it. So it doesn't matter how full your calendar is after you say yes. I didn't have the time is not an excuse.
Whenever I get called for a new project or a certain gig, it's very important that I get the material, that is the audio and whatever sheet music you have, beforehand, and really learn everything. If I can get a very secure handle on the tunes that are a little bit more challenging, I will focus on those first and then have the other songs that maybe require a little bit less of my attention under the fingers and in the subconscious. The ultimate goal for me is to make sure, this doesn't always work, but make sure, do your best to have all of the music memorized by the time you get to the first rehearsal. That might be a tall order, but you can do it. Because listen, if I can do it, you can do it.
The last thing I'll mention here that I think is every bit as important as all the other stuff I just talked about. You got to be a good hang. You have to be a good hang, man. The performance thing is what, 90 minutes, right? Everything outside of that, load in, sound check, hanging out backstage, dinner, that's a lot of time that you're spending together. These bass players that I love to play with, they're also just really good people to be around. So that makes a big difference. It makes the day a lot more fun. Like, you're not just looking forward to the gig. Sometimes you're looking more forward to the hang time afterwards, or the travel time, or dinner, or whatever. But if you have a great relationship with your bandmates off stage, and people are going to see that energy between y'all when you're on stage, and it's just going to make you guys more fun to watch.
There's not a whole lot more I can say about that. Being a good hang, being a good person, a positive person, makes for good energy on and off the stage. And if the audience sees a band with good energy, the audience is going to have good energy. And all of a sudden there's this beautiful reciprocal exchange of positivity back and forth that just makes the night get better and better and better. The thing that I always like to emphasize and remember is gratitude. Being able to play music, especially playing music in front of an audience, is a wonderful thing. And it's something that I don't want to take for granted for a second. So when I look out at the audience and I see people who just want to see the band rise, just want to see some good music and be entertained and support live music, which is very important. And then I look around and I see people who I love, and I'm getting to, I'm getting this beautiful opportunity to share the stage and make some music with some of my good friends. It just makes me appreciate everything that much more. So that positive energy is just natural. It's just natural. So when you get on stage, have a really great time. And when you get off the stage and you're hanging with your sisters and your brothers, have a really great time. Friends and neighbors, I'm going to leave it there. I might do a few more of these where I just ask some of my favorite drummers what they look for in a really good bass player. And I think that kind of advice from different knowledgeable minds will help, because I learned from this stuff as well, and I'm still learning how to be a great bass player, and it's an ongoing journey that will never stop, which excites me. I'm glad that there's no end to this. We're all students in this game, and it's a beautiful game to play. So enjoy it. Enjoy the ride. Enjoy the struggles and the challenges and rise above them. And when you get to those good moments on stage, just appreciate them for what they are. That's all I've got. If you like this video, click that old like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. You can also donate to the channel in a number of ways, and I will leave the links in the description box below. And I thank you, as always, for joining me here in the Brownstone, and I hope to see you very soon in the next video. Peace.